So today we're going to be talking all about LinkedIn newsletters, one of my absolutely favorite features of this platform and one of the biggest lead generators that you have. So hopefully you're going to enjoy this session. I have no slides today. I'm diving straight into LinkedIn. So I'm going to be walking you around all aspects of LinkedIn newsletters. Hello, Aberdeen. Hi, Susan. Sheffield. I'm glad it's sunny in Sheffield, Rory. It is definitely not sunny in Derby today. So Michelle says she's looking forward to this one. She's been waiting for me to talk about LinkedIn newsletters. So hello, Birmingham. Good morning. Good morning. So it's great to see you all here. For those of you who are here for the first time and maybe don't know who I am, I'm Sam Rathling. I'm a LinkedIn expert, platform specialist, but I also work with corporate sales teams with Sales Navigator, and I specialize in social selling. So everything I know about LinkedIn, social selling, Sales Nav, I share in sessions like this. I'm doing it just to help people. I know a lot of people going through difficult times at the minute, and I'm very passionate about sharing my knowledge and expertise. So these are bite-sized chunks, 30 minutes every week with me. And as I say, this is number 7. So all about LinkedIn newsletters today. Let's get started. I'm going to launch a quick poll because I'm just curious to see where you're at with newsletters at the moment. So I'm going to launch a poll and hopefully you'll be able to see that. So question 1 is, do you currently have a LinkedIn newsletter? So that is your first question. Secondly, do you currently subscribe to other people's newsletters? And finally, a little quiz question for you. As of Feb 23, because that's the earliest data I can get, how many LinkedIn newsletters do you think currently exist at the moment? So I'll let you answer all of those. Interesting, interesting. Wow, majority of you do not have a LinkedIn newsletter. Interesting. Some of you are thinking about it. Only 5% of you at the moment are saying you have a personal one. So you can have a personal newsletter and your company page can also have a newsletter as well. So I'm just curious to see if anyone has both or people are just exploring that. So we've got about 75% of you answered so far. I'll just leave it till it gets to 80%. Come on, don't be shy, all of you that are just hovering over the keyboard there. There we go. There's more answers coming through. Okay, I'm going to end the poll now because we've got about 80% of you answered, and I'm going to share the results with you on screen. So for those of you watching on my YouTube channel, I'm just going to read them out because you won't see the poll. For those of you in the Zoom session live with me, you will see the results. So currently, 88% of the live audience I have here do not have a LinkedIn newsletter, 4% thinking about it, 4% with a personal one, 4% with a company one. Do you currently subscribe to other people's newsletters? 63% of you are saying yes, 21% saying no, and some of you saying not sure. So I'm going to show you where you can see if you do actually subscribe to other people's newsletters. The last question, though, I thought I'd throw that in there because I think there's this perception that newsletters are saturated and like, why would I bother creating one? Because there's already so many out there. But actually, as of February 2023, there are only 36,000 newsletters out there. And we're only a couple of months on from that. So let's say it's 50,000 now. There are 922 million members of LinkedIn, and yet there's still less than 50k newsletters out there. So if you're thinking, wow, like it's saturated, like there's no point in me having one, or my competition have got one, like there is a huge opportunity still for creators to have a newsletter and to use it for lead generation purposes. So let me talk you through a few reasons why I love LinkedIn newsletters. Now, I was in the very first batch of people that got access to this feature. So there was a beta test done way back in 2020 in lockdown, and I got access to this thing called LinkedIn newsletters. Of course, knowing me, I didn't do anything with it for a few months, but I was one of the very first people in this beta test. So after a few months, I thought, actually, I should probably try this and get on the bandwagon. The first time you ever release a newsletter, it goes out and every single first degree connection that you have in your entire LinkedIn network gets asked if they would like to subscribe to your newsletter. Now, at the time, I had about 20,000 followers. So I pushed out my newsletter, my first one. I made sure that it was packed full of value, was all my stuff it is, but I wanted my first one to be like really hit a punch. And within seconds, like within probably 12 hours, within seconds, I had about 1,000 subscribers, but within 12 hours, I had 5,000 subscribers on my newsletter, like 25% of my following, like subscribed. And I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. But it pushes out, and it still does today. If you launch a newsletter, everyone you're connected to will be notified that you have a newsletter, and they will be asked to subscribe. So there's an immediate uplift. It's not like you've got to start from zero, like building an email list or something like that, where you've got to, do the work to build it. Like everyone gets notified. So that's number one reason why I love them. Second reason, the people that are subscribed get notified in lots of ways. So first off, you get a notification on your notification bell on LinkedIn that there's a new newsletter edition out from someone you follow. You also then may see it in the newsfeed, because every time you launch a new newsletter, you have to post and you share what's in the newsletter. And the third way that people get it, and this is the one I love, is that it goes to the email notifications where everybody gets their normal LinkedIn notifications. So as long as they haven't switched it off, and most people don't know how to switch off those settings. So that means that unlike maybe my email list newsletters and things like that, or other email lists that we have as a business that may go to junk emails or a special email that someone has set up just to collect all their, the stuff they've subscribed to, the main business email address that someone uses for LinkedIn is where my newsletter lands. And the open rates on them, because of that, are really high. So I get about 65% open rate or views on my newsletters from all the people that are subscribed. And I have nearly 8,000 subscribers now. So if you do the math, right? Think about the numbers. But most people who subscribe to a blog or a newsletter or something, they usually don't use the mail email address that they use for all their other business stuff. So type yes if those reasons sound good to you in terms of why LinkedIn newsletters are a good thing. Now, I'm the classic inconsistent entrepreneur, right? So I thought there's no way I can commit to doing anything that's got to be like weekly or bi-weekly or monthly, right? So do I put a newsletter out every month? I try, but LinkedIn doesn't come after me because I've said I'm doing a monthly newsletter, and they don't come after me and say, oh, you haven't sent your newsletter out. So if you miss one or you skip a week or whatever, it doesn't really matter. What you do want to make sure, though, is that you are being consistent if you do decide to put one out there. So on average, I'd probably recommend goes out about every 6 to 8 weeks. But I do try and get one out every month, but I'm not chastised by LinkedIn or my subscribers if I don't happen to get one out when I say I'm going to put one out. So you can choose to go weekly, bi-weekly, so every 2 weeks, or monthly when you put your newsletter together. So that's the frequency that you can put them out there as. So I'm going to dive into LinkedIn. I'm going to share screen. I'm going to go through a few things. For those of you that are not familiar with newsletters, which is a huge chunk of you on this live call, it's just like writing a LinkedIn article. So if you've ever written a LinkedIn article, a newsletter is no different to that. The formatting of it, where you write it, all of that stuff is all the same. So if you've ever written a LinkedIn article, don't be scared of newsletters, because it's exactly the same format. So what else am I going to say? A couple more things. You do ideally want to be in creator mode for tools like newsletters. So I do believe that they are rolling newsletters out wider, but newsletters is one of the features you get if you have your LinkedIn profile switched to creator mode on, as well as things like LinkedIn Live, LinkedIn Audio, etc. So LinkedIn newsletters is one of those features that you get if you were in creator mode on. And I'm going to dive in now. So let's have a look. Can we share screen? Here we go. So let's go to over here. Right, hopefully you guys should be able to see my screen now. So where do you see your newsletter? So the first thing is you want to go to My Network up in the top of your LinkedIn if you want to get access to your newsletter. So I've gone to My Network. Now you can see I've been given an invite actually today by somebody that I've recently connected with. Okay, so the other thing I love about newsletters is it didn't used to, but it does now. Every new follower automatically gets invited to follow your newsletter as soon as you've connected or you've got that new follower. So I've recently connected with Zamir, and he hasn't manually sent this to me. Automatically I've been given an invite to his newsletter, so I can choose to accept or ignore. So when your newsletter goes out to your invitations and your networks, that is what it's going to look like. So I'm just going to click on ignore for that one, and down the left hand side you can see that I've got newsletters as a feature here. So if you're not sure whether you're subscribed or not to other people's newsletters, you can click over here to newsletters. I'm subscribed to 154 newsletters. You can see my one at the top there is 7897 subscribers. That's my own newsletter. And there are other ones under here that I'm subscribed to. So some of them are clients' newsletters. Some of them are ones I'm interested in. Some of them are influencers that I follow. Some of them are just so I can keep on top of social selling trends, etc. So there are lots of different newsletters that I'm subscribed to. Do be aware, though, that on your LinkedIn profile at the very bottom where you see education and influencers that you follow, LinkedIn is now showing to other people what newsletters you follow. So if you are, I don't know, on here and you're looking for a job and you're subscribed to lots of careers and job pages and newsletters about how to find a new job, you might want to just unsubscribe from that newsletter and look at it on the newsfeed instead, for example, right? So other people can see what newsletters you are subscribed to once you are subscribed. So that's where you find your newsletters. So if you're not sure whether or not you are, you can go into one of those. I'm going to go into here, for example, and you can see, you can share that newsletter. You can unsubscribe if there are any in there that you're not interested in subscribing to. You just click that button, it unsubscribes, and you can see the frequency of that newsletter and how many subscribers that they have, right? And then you can see all the previous editions of those particular ones. So this person here, Dr. Chris Stout, is doing his is called Tools for Change. He's got his June one, his May one, his April one. So he's very consistent with his newsletters. If I go back a page, that's where you can see them. Social Selling with Sam, for those of you that aren't subscribed, I'm just going to click on that and put that link into the chat box. I'm going to copy the link here so that you guys can see it, and then obviously you can see how I format mine and everything else. Oh, I've just sent that to hosts and panelists instead of everyone. Good one, Sam. There we go. So you should be able to see that there. So if you aren't currently subscribed, feel free to subscribe to mine. You don't have to. I do, as I say, attempt to publish it monthly. Sometimes I'll use it for big announcements, and sometimes I'll use it as like an update, etc., things like that. So mine is called Rathlings Ramblings. You ideally want to have like a snappy name for your newsletter, because when someone's invited to subscribe to it, I mean, mine is actually called Social Selling with Sam, but my editions, I call them Rathlings Ramblings. But think about something quite short and snappy that you could call your newsletter that people go, I'm going to subscribe to that, not some big long convoluted name for your newsletter. So you can see here, this is my latest one here. I'm going to go in and just talk you through the format that I use, okay? So I can go into here. I generally, this one was quite a short one for me. Sometimes I do a lot of company updates and things like that. It's taken a while to load. I don't know why. This one was quite a short one for me today, mainly to talk about the free training. So I tend to pack mine with content that I've already created elsewhere. So for those of you that have been following these free sessions, I sent out a newsletter with the most recent links to the YouTube videos. Now, unlike a post where it's the algorithm doesn't like it if you send people outside of the LinkedIn platform, it's okay to use things like YouTube links, external links to websites, etc., inside an article or a newsletter. So you can see here I've been putting like my YouTube links in here, so that's taking people away, inviting people to join these sessions, inviting people to a new event, things like that. So this was quite a short, snappy version of a newsletter because I hadn't put one out for a while. I wanted to put one out. I am going to go into one though that is slightly more formatted in my normal format for you. So let me go down here. I think that this one is something around that. Yeah, so this is what I normally do for my newsletter. So I do say at the front end what's coming up in this edition. So I want people to know what they're going to get from my newsletter. So I generally give an update about Pipeline 44, an update about me. I give some content, some useful tips, helpful advice. So things like that. So this is my company update in terms of what's been happening with us, what's been happening with me. If we run any free masterclasses or events, I'll use mine and Chris's content to put that out there. I tend to, because I think writing a newsletter is quite a big commitment, at least 50% of my content in my newsletter is just stuff that I've already created in the previous month. So how a florist can help you with content creation was actually just me sharing a link to a post that I'd done 2 weeks prior that didn't get as much traction on the newsfeed as I wanted it to. So I put it in my newsletter so that, again, more eyeballs could go on it. free newsletters, free workshops, etc. Again, another link to why should salespeople build their brand, a link to a poll, things like that, launches. I also include, and this is quite an important one on your newsletter, and about the author section. Because someone that's new to your newsletter or doesn't know who you are or doesn't know how to contact you, you ideally want to have like your bio, your photograph, and how to contact you. So I do use my newsletter to say, if you want to talk about social selling, book a call with me. If you want to go and have a look at my masterclasses, go here. If you want to connect with me, go here. So I do use my newsletter to feed other aspects of my sales funnel. So if I want people to download something for free in exchange for their email address, I'll put it in my newsletter. So those are just some of the things to bear in mind. You can see the stats on your newsletters and your articles. So you can see here the number of impressions. You can see here the number of views. You can see who's read it, just like you would any other post, right? So 2,504 article views. So it's an article because it's in the format of a newsletter, but it does tell me, you know, who is picking that up as well. Okay. So those are the stats that you can see, and I can generally see them fairly quickly. And I can also see the post that came with it as well. So that is kind of the format that I use. Now, you don't have to use the format I'm using. It works for me. Just find something that's in your voice. But 50% of that is taken from stuff I've already created. That's the point here. Does anyone have any questions on any of that so far? I'm going to go and do a little bit more for you in just a second, but is there any questions at the moment sticking out for anyone? I've got one in the Q&A box. In terms of content in the newsletter, can I pull the insight post that I write for the weekly website? Absolutely, 100%. So Michelle, yes, you can. You can do that. I'm going to go in just a second and show you where you go and write an article and where you go write a newsletter. So an article on LinkedIn is more like a blog post. It's evergreen, that stays on LinkedIn forever. And a post is, so posts I would use some visibility. They're your normal newsfeed posts. I would use articles and newsletters to build your credibility. So articles are like blogs, but within the LinkedIn environment, and they stay forever. I would recommend using articles on things like your featured section of your profile, so that if you've got a prospect landing on your profile, you've got something useful they can go read. Steve, you've asked, should we still use articles? 100% yes. I recommend doing an article about once a month or once a quarter to build credibility on a particular topic. But I'm just sharing with you, if you're used to creating articles, newsletters are no different. Okay, so you can absolutely, like if you're already writing stuff, blogs or content for your website, you could just repurpose that and put it into a LinkedIn newsletter. Absolutely, 100%. You don't want to be doing loads of extra work for this, right? You want to be repurposing what you've already got. So I'm going to show you now where you go to create your newsletter and where you go to actually write your newsletter and how you can go and format it and everything. So let me just go back into the news feed here. And okay, so you're going to go to the home button where you would normally go on your desktop to start any kind of a post. You can see here you've got photo, video, job, article. So I'm going to get you to go to click on write article. So just here. And when you go in there, you've got the option to publish an article as yourself or any of the company pages that you follow. So I'm going to choose me. And when you come in to write an article, if you're already set up for newsletters, it will default to the newsletter. You can see here I've got the option of saying, I want to publish a monthly Social Selling with Sam newsletter, or I want to create an individual article. So if you've never written an article before, that's where you would say, I'm going to write an article. So that would just be published to the newsfeed, and then you can use it. But if I do want to use my Social Selling with Sam, I'm going to go here. So I'm going to write my headline. So I would call it edition 21 ramblings. I'm going to choose an image to go up here. The image is important because that will follow the newsletter around everywhere. So you can click, you can see there that they've got an image size recommendation 1920 times 1080. So just use Canva or something like that, or upload a photograph. I'm not going to do that now. And then you literally just come down here and you start writing. Now, you can on articles and newsletters, you can now tag people and use hashtags. That's quite a new feature. So if I wanted to mention somebody in an article, like for example, I've just done an audio room with Tracy Bedwell. So if I wanted to mention Tracy and thank her for the opportunity to be in her LinkedIn audio room, for example, I could do that. So that's quite a new thing for articles and for newsletters. You've got the option then when you're publishing, you've got a few things up here. So you can have a heading, you can have heading 2, or you can have normal text. So if I was writing my heading, I'd be welcome to ramblings, right? So I'm not going to do this and write a whole article, but you get the whole point. This little button here on the left-hand side, which looks like a TV screen with a plus, that allows you to insert images, videos, slides, links, and snippets, okay? So an image is obvious, that's just me uploading a photograph. So if I wanted to upload, I can just upload any file from my computer. And I'm just going to pick the most recent image I have there, which is from a post that I did yesterday about customer service, etc. So here is, and then you can choose if you want to make it in the middle, make it big, you want to make it on the right so you can write next to it, or put that in the wrong size. I'll make that normal text. So I can decide, and then I can then caption the image if I want to underneath. I can delete the image there. And if I wanted to, for example, if I wanted to embed my last week's free training session, I would click on here, click on links, and then I would head over to my most recent YouTube video, click on share, grab my link, and I will go, where am I now? Go back to, hang on if I can find it, there we are. Insert the link in there, and it's very, very easy then to embed things like a YouTube channel in there. So I'm going to just literally just show you a few different things in here. If I wanted to put an actual video, so if you wanted to put a GIF in there, you could put a GIF in there. If you wanted to upload like a native video, you could. I prefer sending people to my YouTube channel from my newsletter, just because I don't get penalized by LinkedIn for having the link in there, and it drives more subscriptions essentially. A snippet is just where you can highlight a quote or something. So I could go, social selling is the art of selling without selling. So if you wanted to put a particular quote in there, you could, for example, and then you've got the option to put slides even. So if you wanted to insert some presentation slides, you could do that. So you're literally just creating this, and then you're coming further down here. I do put my signature in as an image, and then if I want to create my about the author section, I'll just usually copy and paste it across from my previous one. So if I wanted to go and grab my about the author section, don't want to reinvent the wheel, I might update the photo or something like that. But if I did want to come in here and grab my about the author section, I can just literally come in here, do that, and copy and paste it into my, I can find which link it is I'm working on. There we go. Paste in my about the author section in there, add myself my photograph, and then I'm done. So you can pull things across from your previous one if you want to. So once you've kind of got your format, I'm just going to have a look here. So if I wanted to do that, I could do so, and then I could move it to the left-hand side, and I've got my about the author section. Formatting might be slightly off, so you just need to check that. But my about the author section is then done. And if I want to pull the template of the format or anything across, I can. So it's quite easy to do. If you're used to doing articles, it will be completely familiar to you. When you first go in, if you've never had a newsletter, the way that you create one is you're going to write an article, and at the very top, there will be a blue button that says publish as a newsletter or create my newsletter. So it'll be a big button at the top if you've never had a newsletter. I'll show you what that looks like from the company page side, so you can see how you would set it up. I don't currently have one for Pipeline 44, so I'm going to show you it if I was setting it up from a company page. I would recommend for majority of you, if you're small businesses, that you're doing it as a personal newsletter from your personal profile, going out to your first degree connections. I would hold off doing a company newsletter until you've got quite a significant following on the platform, because the newsletter will get pushed out to all of your existing followers, and then new people that follow the page will be invited to subscribe. We've only just crossed the 1,100 follower, so we'll probably wait till about 2,500, 3,000 followers on Pipeline 44 before we push out a company newsletter as well. So let me just share with you how you would create the newsletter. So I'm going to go over to I'm just going to share with you what it looks like. So I'm going to go to my company page, and on the left-hand side, I've got the option to add a newsletter. So whether you're creating a company one or a personal one, this is what it will look like. It will ask you for your newsletter title. It will ask you how often do you want to publish it. and it will ask you to give a description, and then you'll be able to upload an image or logo for the newsletter as well. And you can see here on the company page one, your page followers will be invited to subscribe. You'll be subscribed to your own page newsletter, and your newsletter will be featured on your page. So that is what happens when you create a company one, but the same information is visible when you go to create a personal one as well. Okay, so I can see some, I've got all those questions answered. Right, any particular questions? Sarah, you've put it in the chat box, but I'll answer it because I can see it. Is it advisable to wait to create a company page until I have more followers? I would still have a company page, Sarah, even if you are new and you're just starting out, just from a credibility perspective. It does also help you get found if you've got the right keywords, etc., set up, and you can link your company page to your personal profile. So I wouldn't hold off creating a company page, but I wouldn't invest lots of time in it yet until you've built up your following and your personal profile more. You can cross-pollinate the two. Your company page can like and comment on your posts. You can reshare personal posts to your company page and vice versa. But I wouldn't necessarily wait. I'd still have one, but don't invest a lot of time in it until you've really built your personal brand up through your personal profile. Okay, no problem. You're welcome. Any other questions? I'm happy to answer questions about newsletters, or if you want to ask me anything about LinkedIn, social selling, content, anything at all that you want to ask, I'm here for it. So we've got a few more minutes to go. We've still got quite a lot of you on the line. So who now, of the 92% of you that don't have a newsletter, are now going to create a LinkedIn newsletter? Type yes if you plan to create a LinkedIn newsletter. Definitely yes. Yes, good. Just started. Nice, Linda. Straight in there. I love the action takers. Amazing. Awesome. Very cool. Feel free, obviously, if you want to have a look at mine. I would subscribe to a few different people's newsletters. Yeah, but it'd basically be similar to a blog on your website for sure. So my structure is company updates, updates about me, some free content, loads of tips, helpful advice, etc. News about any upcoming events or webinars or stuff like that. And then just a thank you to people, and then the about the author section. So but very similar to how you would blog. Your articles are going to be more like the blogs. Your newsletter needs to be more news focused, if that makes sense. So if you're already blogging, you'd probably want to make those into articles. Your newsletter would be a bit of blog content plus some other stuff as well, updates and valuable, helpful stuff. Okay, good. Let me have a look. I've got some more questions in here. Those ones are done. All right. So Michelle, can you see who your subscribers are? Not currently, but I believe it's coming. So you don't currently see who your subscribers are, but I believe LinkedIn is about to release that. Now, how can you get them off the platform into your own list? So this is a good question. I love this question. So you can cross-pollinate the two. So what I do in ours, for example, in my personal newsletter, if I want to get them off LinkedIn onto my own email list, because remember, you don't own LinkedIn, you own your own email list, you don't own LinkedIn. So if you lost your LinkedIn profile, you'd lose your subscribers and all that kind of stuff. So I would do things like, if you've got some kind of lead magnet, so we have like 100 content ideas, 44 prospecting tips, download my books for free, all of that stuff, right? We have all those as landing pages. I would embed those into the LinkedIn newsletter. So I'd be like, hey, here's 100 content ideas for free. I'd put it into my newsletter, and then people would then go across to download the PDF, but exchange their email address to get the 100 content ideas. And then now they're on my own email list as well. So yeah, so that's a very good point. I like doing that. But whatever you can do to move people off the platform, right? I do like the fact now that every new follower that I get is being asked, do you also want to subscribe to Social Selling with Sam? That's how my list is growing. So it was stagnant for a while at about 7,500, and I wasn't really promoting the newsletter that much. The other thing you can do with it is you can add it to your featured section. So if you have a new newsletter and you want subscribers and you want people to know about it, you can click on the plus section on the featured section of your profile, and you can actually add your newsletter, and it will sit there and it will have a big subscribe button on it. So any new profile viewers will see that you've got a newsletter and will be invited to subscribe. Love this. Okay, perfect. And I'm on time. Amazing. So well, you're very welcome today, everyone. I know it's a bit like kind of haphazard. It was a bit all over the place in terms of kind of screen sharing and things like that, but it's much easier for me to demonstrate live in the platform. But I'm glad that you like this session. Monique, yes, I do have we have an email list and we have a LinkedIn newsletter, but we don't kind of have a newsletter for our normal email list. We kind of use it more for marketing more than anything, but you could quite easily have a mail newsletter and a LinkedIn newsletter. I'm glad you found it helpful. You're very welcome, everyone. Next week, what am I doing next week? I can't even remember what the topic is next week. I will let you know on the email communication. So I'll send the replay out to you and I'll let you know, because my ADHD brain has forgotten what I'm talking about next week. But it will be a good session regardless. So I will see you all next week for another free session with me, Sam Rathling. And remember, if you're not LinkedIn, you're totally linked out, and I help you make money, not noise, from the LinkedIn platform. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.